on One Nation, One Education policy by Center for Education Growth and Research. Center for Education Growth and Research is the leading and only education think tank in India created with 4 innovations. CEGR provides a platform for exchange of dialogue among educationists, the media, and policymakers. With over 10,000 aligned academicians, corporate, and researchers, the CEGR National Council includes regulators from AICTE, 100 vice chancellors from various regions of India, and leading industrialists. CEGR is the only education think tank to organize 56 successful events in 14 states on a single day under its flagship social initiative, that is Indian Education Festival. Indian Education Festival benefited more than 12,500 persons on a single day, and that was the unique achievement by the CEGR. Now CEGR has spread to the entire nation and is active in 20 plus states, and with more than 10,000 aligned academicians, including 100 vice chancellors, 200 promoters, and more than 1,000 academic leaders. Now we are planning many activities in different states, and today we are blessed. We have a very eminent and stalwart of the academia like Mr. Kumar Vijayendra, who is the mentor to CEGR and one of the strong pillars of the CEGR. So thank you, sir, for making your presence and always available with your presence and guidance. Thank you for making the CEGR a great platform. Now we have Dr. Sandeep Pandey, Chairman, ASM Group of Institute. So he is a great source of inspiration on various ideas of the CEGR. Thank you, sir, for always guiding the CEGR. Then we have Advocate Dr. P. Krishnadas, Chairman, Nehru Group of Institutions from South India, a great group of institutions with more than 25 institutions in that group, a great institution builder. Welcome to you, sir. Then we have Professor K. Prathapan, Vice Chancellor, D.Y. Patil Agriculture Technical University from Kolhapur, and a great scientist in the field of agriculture. So we welcome you, sir. Then we have Mr. Parvez Dudani, Chancellor, Medhavi Skills University with us. So we welcome you, sir, Parvez, sir. This is the first time when we are listening to you at the CEGR platform. And then we have Dr. Indramani, Vice Chancellor, Vasantrao Nayak Marathwada Agriculture Krishi Vidya University. So we welcome you, sir, and we welcome all the participants to this session. And with this, I am stopping, and now I am requesting Mr. Kumar Vijayendra, mentor CEGR and Chancellor Soviet University to present his welcome and opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ravish. I'm audible. Yeah, okay, fine. So on behalf of CEGR, I'm happy to welcome everybody in this webinar. CEGR, as Ravish has mentioned, is one of the finest platforms to bring wonderful academicians, philanthropists, educationists on a single platform to discuss, deliberate, debate, and develop a policy note for the policymakers. In last 2 years, we all are talking about national education policy. Initially, we were having seminars, webinars, workshops to understand it, that what this national education policy is all about. Nowadays, we are talking about the implementation part, that how to implement it effectively pan-India. It has been seen that after the new education policy came, every state, being it a state matter, decided to implement it in their own ways. State educational authorities, they decided that they will interpret the national education policy and they will work on their own. it has created a confusion in some of the states because everybody is talking about that you should do this way. The national nature of the policy is getting diluted sometimes. And that's why today CEGR is having this discussion where we are talking about one nation, one education policy, so that we all can work together and we all can see that that implementation part can happen at national level. Because if that fragmentation of state will be there, so definitely we cannot have a national level credit transfer system. We cannot have national level research integration. We cannot have many things what has been expected and desired in this national education policy. Today we are having wonderful list of speakers, and many of the speakers they are here first time on this platform, as I'm told. So definitely we will like to listen you people more. When we look at the one nation, one education policy, so definitely there are some bullet points which I would like to mention, which need to be discussed. Like we have to see that there should be a standardization of degrees and qualifications. Quality assurance should be on national level, not on international ranking perceptions. We should work because a national education policy is there. And if we say that let us work on certain parameters which are actually not fitting properly with our national character, national way, then it will be a challenge. And IRF and NEC and some other bodies are doing it, but we have to strengthen that. Promotion of research and innovation. We have to integrate the national character in that. We have to see that how a university like Shobit sitting in Meerut can tie up with a university sitting in deep south or somewhere else, how we can work and how we can promote. Skill development has been talked about. Again, skill development has become a very regional issue that has to be seen. Financing and governance is a big challenge, especially in the private sector, that needs to be seen. A national policy on that also need to be there. A white paper CEGR is developing on that. We would like you people to contribute in that. Curriculum reforms, a lot of things have been already suggested by the government time to time. But the moment a curriculum is suggested by somebody else, then the purpose of being a university is defeated. I always believe that universities should develop their course curriculum in the light of national interest, but considering the regional requirements also. And that has to be seen. Industry academia collaboration, we all are talking about, but how it can be very, very effective. We are advocating that CSR money, if it can be routed towards the academia as a mandatory norm, that X percentage of CSR money should be routed to the local universities or institutions. Digital education, we all are talking about, but again, it cannot be only a tool for enhancing the gross enrollment ratio. We have to see that quality is maintained. We have to see that transfer of knowledge and information is happening properly. Flexible learning, definitely one education, one nation, one education. When we talk about flexible learning has to be there. That flexibility is not only of exit and entry. That flexibility is somebody has taken some credit from A institution and going to B institution. That smooth transfer of those credit has to be there, and it can happen when we will be talking about one nation, one education more seriously. Interdisciplinary learning is happening within the universities actually. That a university is having interdisciplinary learning opportunities and possibilities. But I personally visualize that interdisciplinary learning can happen with multiple universities coming up as a meta university. Like if agriculture and technology, D.Y. Patil has started doing, narrow group of institution must be doing something else. Madhvi Skill University may be doing something else. Some other university may be doing something else. If we are good in that, that opportunity should be there, that we all can come together and multidisciplinary thing our student can explore. Instead of everybody is forced to develop everything within their own campuses, we should have that thing, and that has to be framed, that has to be discussed, that has to be done properly. Entrepreneurship again is one such thing, that entrepreneurship cells we all are having, but how to develop, what to do there. So I always believe that every university, every institution is having one good practice. So if I believe on that 11,000 good practices are there in our ecosystem through universities, and around 34,000 good practices are there through our higher education institutions. 40,000 plus good practices are. And in those practices, entrepreneurship, everybody, every promoter sitting over here is one of the wonderful entrepreneurs. So something has to come, like we have to discuss more and more, then we can talk about one nation, one education policy. Quality improvement again cannot be very regional. We all have to work together for that. Multilingual education. What is happening, like for example, I have a student coming from deep south, Kerala, other places. I cannot give them that environment what is required. But if some credits are there, which my students want to learn in X language, how to do that, that has to be discussed. Otherwise also, like in Hindi, if I start teaching everybody who's coming from South, so definitely it will fail. And I cannot have a facility of all other languages. So that has to be seen, because AICT is promoting it, other bodies are promoting, you should do it in a regional language. But regional language means I should have only local students. I cannot entertain a student coming from other states if I am teaching in X or Y. So these need to be discussed, and I'm sure today we will be discussing it. Lifelong learning again is one of the area which has to be discussed further for one nation, one education policy. So these are some of the bullet points. I was just thinking that I will just mention them so that deliberation can have a better shape. And I'm sure that today's discussion will lead towards a policy note, a white paper. On behalf of CEGR, I will put one more request to everybody, that there must be something of your concern in your university, in your institutions, which may be of very regional nature, which may be of national pain, which may be related to the regulators. If there is something, please do share it with CEGR to Mr. Ravi G, because it is not only for webinars, it is not only for seminars, events, summits, it is for trying to find a solution for all those things. So thank you, Ravi, for inviting me today. I'm on the platform after a quite long time. And I'm sure that today's deliberation will help not only the participants, but it will give a new direction, a new thought process to many of our regulators and policymakers. Thank you very much. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you very much, Kuvar sir, for your constant guidance. Yes, though you are not always here, I think we always feel your presence in every event of CEGR. So your blessings and support is always there with us. We are very happy to see this topic, Ravish. This is something which is very important. And sir has set the tone of the discussion. It is very necessary that we properly deliberate, discuss on how this is going to be implemented. There is a lot of question marks which come when such a policy comes in. India is a very diverse and a big nation. So when we say, that one size fits all, I think that's where we have to be very careful. though certain policies should be at the national level, certain flexibility should be provided to the regional players to adapt to the local needs as such. As even sir rightly pointed out, that whether it is about language, whether it's about the need of the regional places for different things, everything is very, very essential when we talk of this. Even things like, having a common entrance test, having a curriculum, these are also very important aspects which should be debated and discussed. And then only we will be able to, reach some consensus which is workable in nature. While we are speaking that the intention of the policies are very good, so that we bring equal opportunities and equal these things for the students. Sir, I think another point which you have mentioned about language, you have mentioned about the best practices and other things. But one of the other areas also which we should be working on is even the level playing field for institutions. With so many things coming up, there are some institutions like the foreign institutions are given a complete red carpet and complete autonomy. Now, if they have been given this, all the other institutions also should be given this. So it should be a level playing field for everyone. You're saying
Actually,
something?
on that particular point, I was very silent. This welcoming global universities, because I personally feel we should talk on it after elections of 2024. So, I do not know what will happen actually. It may be just one of those promises what we do otherwise.
Yeah,
and
so
one
but,
more thing is there, I could see there are two universities, agriculture universities. On personal front, I would like to request both the vice chancellors here. ICAR, we are advocating that approvals to the universities, especially self-finance universities for agriculture programs, the norms should be eased out.
Yes.
Especially the land norms and other things. And it is in very advanced stage. Some changes have come in last 7-8 months of working with them closely. We are working with the DDG education of ICAR on that. So I will like that if there is something, we are having a meeting with ICAR in coming week. So if there is anything, please do let us know, so that on personal front, I will be in position to put it there and discuss with the policymakers. So
thank you. Sure, we will do that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
I will
these are very
appreciate
important points. And even when we started, I was asking Prathapan sir about the land norms itself.
no, like last 8 months, we are advocating on that. We are working in that direction.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And you're right, sir. We should have a level playing field. And it's not only just with foreign and Indian, but also government, non-government, affiliated colleges or whatever. I think once we provide a level playing field for the institutions as well as the students, then it will be possible to properly implement this policy. And I'm very happy to see some very new people joining with us, Ravish. I think we would love to hear from them. So why don't I just pass it over to you for the further deliberations, and we look forward to hearing to all the experts their views, so that we can take some actionable action from CEGR on these suggestions.
And thank you, Dr. Sandeep Pandey sir and Mr. Kumar Sekhar Vijan sir, always guiding force behind the CEGR and various initiatives. Now I request Advocate Dr. P. Krishna Das, Chairman Nehru Group of Institutions from South India, a leading group of institutions in South India, to present his view about the One Nation, One Education policy, where we can have one policy and where we can have the autonomy, which area is the concern area. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ravi G. So most respected Mr. Kunwar Shekhar Vijendra, the member of CEGR and Chancellor of Shobit University, Dr. Davis J, National President CEGR and Chancellor of Prestige University, Dr. Sandeep Warwa, member CEGR and Chancellor of AFFT, then the Professor K. Pradhaban, the Vice Chancellor D.Y. Patel, Agriculture and Technical University, all other dignitaries, those who are in this webinar on One Nation and One Education policy. already now we are able to understand what's happening in our country, and especially when we're trying to implement the national education policy. So already Kunwar Shekhar Vijendra ji, he already specifically mentioned what all challenges we are going to see in the coming days and coming years. And apart from that, we know that when we are not having a level playing ground, especially across the pan India, it will be very difficult to fight ourselves or to compete. The competition will be more vulnerable in that aspect. Why I'm quoting this point is that it is very, very relevant. When the government has decided to open up for the foreign university and they are coming in, already we all having a lot of understanding with the foreign university, not in a big scale, but at least in a small scale. And we know what they want. They want only the resource and the students from our country. They are not really into the education. That is not their matter at all, concern at all. Some of the good universities are doing justice to the students. But to challenge and to see that that threat is going to be a great thing when we go ahead with this policy. So we have to bring out with a real white paper, that is what is the requirement of the hour. And we know one nation, one education policy for India is a policy proposed by the central government. And for India to bring uniformity across the country. As we know, we are having a different set of university. There are private university, deemed university, government statutory university, then center of excellences are there. And apart from that, now digital university, many other things are coming up in our country. But the problem differs. The problem is that each state is having their own parameters and their own rules, regulations, and policies. So there is a wide gap between the state to state. So that's why previously the South India is attracted a lot of North Indian students. Now when the North India have a solid and rigid policy in all these areas, now the South Indian students are attracted there and they are going there studying there. So what Kunwar Shekhar Vijendra ji mentioned, that is rightly correct, because we have to have an understanding and collaboration with these universities and colleges. Because there are a lot of single standalone institutions in our country where they are offering degree programs and many other things. And especially a state like me, especially where I am sitting now in Kerala, we are having presence in South India, especially Tamil Nadu, Kerala and all. But we know the difference between Tamil Nadu and Kerala. The Tamil Nadu promotes education, they give a lot of support and they do the timely based operations. Whereas in Kerala, till today, we are not even able to get the correct kind of support and guidance from this government. The reason is that the political orientation and everything is differing from one state to another. So my simple suggestion is that the CEGR, the platform what we are using now, we have to propose a solid proposal to the central government saying that all the states, university to be governed and monitored in such a way. In national education policy, there is a policy, but still the private university and the deemed university and other university is a different class. Whereas when it comes to state university, they are having their own statutes governed by the legislature, and that too entire non-academicians are occupying the seats. That is creating problem especially in South. And I am not that much aware what the situation in North. This is another, that is a major challenge what we are facing. And we know that around 1,000 plus universities in our country where 40% are only accredited even in NAC. And there are universities which are not accredited also. This is the latest survey which is revealed by the Higher Education Department. And national education policies says that a lot of added advantages, and even the local language, if you are going for a local language, rightly pointed out in the initial discussion in the starting stage, it will be a very difficult task for the colleges and universities to survive, because the students coming to the with the state alone with the local language, that will be a wide gap will be created there. So that to be addressed properly. So in a hurry, we should not do something. The government should not implement such type of things. Before that, a level playing ground should be established. All statutory bodies, higher education, including the National Medical Council, AICT, Pharmacy Council, Bar Council, or what all councils and other bodies are there, we have to bring them on one umbrella. And the policy and the framework and the guidelines and the regulation should be in such a way that will give an ample opportunity for all the institutions and colleges, universities to pay, that is to have a level playing ground. Otherwise, it will be a difficult thing. So when we talk about other foreign countries, we know the difference between Indian academic standards and other academics. Especially, we are having our own culture diversity. We are having our traditional values, moral and ethical, and also spiritual roots are there. So everything to be infused in this education. When we talk about artificial intelligence, machine learning, that's all part of that. And the autonomy should be given to the universities and the colleges in such a way that they have to find their own way to do the things which will be meritorious and which will be justified with the student community to bring them in excellence. Otherwise, it will be a problem. And we all know that what is Korean model education system, Finland education model, Japan education model, even Singapore and Hong Kong education, all this to be considered. We talk about Europe, we talk about UK, we talk about America. What about the rest of the world? We have to consider all these things. And wherever the gap is there, the requirement is there, that should be addressed in such a way. Because every area of skilling is required. Because nowadays, with the latest survey, even the Oxford University has recently revealed one survey report. In that, what it speaks, it's very clear. Beyond 2030, even the jobs what are present here will be totally vanished. It will be totally in a different set of forms. So there also, our relevance is more. We have to just restructure ourselves and we have to redo ourselves to see that challenges to be considered, and we have to, our curriculum, syllabus, everything to be framed in such a way. So the industrial input is required, all organization inputs are required, academic eminence is required, and all the stalwarts who are in the country, even from the foreign or abroad, they have to be brought in and their knowledge to be infused in this. Then only one nation, one education policy can be a good success formula. Otherwise, only the tag will be there, but the state-wise difference will be there. Even we know nowadays, many of the state universities, they are not even giving the forwarding letter for the autonomous status for the many institutions. Even last week in Tamil Nadu, that is especially in Madras High Court, around a dozen petitions, writ petition filed for by the various colleges for getting the autonomous status application forwarding letter. That means that is a state, because every state there is having some conflict between the chancellors and especially with the vice chancellors and the government. That also to be addressed. So unless and until one nation, one policy is not there, it will be really very pathetic for the future when we talk about the future of the Indian education system. And when we talk about education, establishing interdisciplinary programs is required to ensure that students are well-rounded and familiar with multiple disciplines. Establishing such type of things is essential now. Nobody can oversee that. And all the academicians, what they are working in this education platform, they have to join together. I think a national pan discussion is required to bring that all the policies, guidelines, and regulations should be routed through single channel. Then the entire problem of this country will be solved. So this to be addressed, then only our vision, our aim, or our discussion will be fruitful. Because some states are differing in the land norms. Some states are not allowing even holding more than, for example, in our state, Kerala, we are struggling to hold more than 15 acres of standard acres of land, even for an institution. When we move to the other state, it will be different. So even for this type of thing also, some regulation is required. Many unaddressed provisions are already neglected. Even the research guidelines are not uniform. Even the teachers' appointment are not a uniform methodology. Even other activities which is related to the education establishment, institution establishment are not uniform. So all these things to be addressed. I am not taking much time. It's really a very good platform, especially CEGR, one of the leading platform where we can change the destiny of our country by providing 100% quality higher education. For that, not only the higher education, technical, all the other areas, but also every sphere of life to be touched, and we have to form such a very good guideline, and we have to present it before the central government. And I think our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi is very well accepting all these facts. Even the Education Minister, HRD Minister, and all the other ministers, they are all very well accepting our proposals. Only thing is that proper support and proper follow-up is required in that aspect. I am very much happy to participate in this program, and whatever from our end, Nehru Group of Institution, we can only contribute a small thing to this platform, because we are also having our own issues in these both states. We are facing different problems in both the states. We are also having that issue, so we are able to say something solidly on that when it comes to the paper. So definitely we will be submitting that our request and our problems that can be incorporated in this white paper. And I'm just extending my gratitude for this CEGR for inviting me for this talk. And special thanks to Ravi G, who specifically followed up for ensuring that I am participating. And on behalf of Nehru Group of Institution, I place my gratitude for all the office bearers and all the university chancellors, presidents, and vice chancellors, those who are participating in this program. And before winding up, let me say, a nation is advanced in proportion to education and intelligence spread among the masters. For this, the education, especially the nation, should be one. For that, one nation, one education policy is must. So we have to work together, and definitely we can achieve the goal. By 2025, we can see that a lot of changes will happen, especially now the corner, we are just in the fag end of parliament election. Definitely some glitches and hitches will be there. Beyond that, after this election, some solid policy can be brought out. So we can hope for that, and let us work for that. Once again, thanking all the eminent personalities, those who are participating in the webinar. Let us work together. Let us achieve the goal without much delay. Thank you. Great day. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. P. Krishna Das, sir, Chairman, Nehru Group of Institution, for the wonderful and presenting very defined speech. You covered maximum point what we want. You covered starting from the differences in the regulation, differences in the parameters, guidelines, everywhere. So on certain point we need uniform policy, especially in the regulation, land requirement, and many more things. And now we have a very eminent person, Mr. Parvez Dudani, Chancellor Medhavi Skills University from Northeast. So we look forward to your views on various parameters, especially welcome of the foreign university and skills and related to education, regulation, and many more things. Over to you, Parvez, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you, CEGR community, CEGR family, and Mr. Ravish for inviting me and Medhavi Skills University to present the thoughts here. And it is wonderful to be a part of the panel, and especially hearing very thought-provoking ideas, what changes are required in our education system, and how collectively as people who lead higher education institutions can combine our thoughts and present it to government for an efficient policy, one India, one nation, one policy framework. So I represent Medhavi Skills University. It's a skills university which sits between the higher education ecosystem and the skilling ecosystem. So, we've been working for last 10+ years in providing a lot of employment linked short-term skilling. So that's why we created the Skills University. And not only being an UGC approved university, we are also NCVET, National Council of Vocational Education Training approved university, and as an awarding body. Now, what I think is that there are so we all know that in the new national education policy there is a lot of emphasis on making the whole education system more meaningful, more outcome oriented, having the skilling components or the skill competencies embedded into the higher education curriculums. And a lot of work is being done from UGC, AICT. New frameworks are being floated, but and I must say that while we closely observe these policies, the coming times will be much better than what in the last few decades we have seen, and the humongous amount of challenges and the bureaucracies we have seen in the higher education system. There are the new doors are being opened up, the policies are being changed. So we as a skills university have been fortunate to actually lead the whole initiative of integrating skills into higher education. And going forward, the new national education policy talks about this integration part. Now, but however, having said that, there are a lot of challenges in this sector. There is still a lot of regulation, state-wise regulations. There are very stringent laws in terms of setting up high quality infrastructure, creating high quality courses in the sector which are related to high employment. For example, creating capacities or building capacities in teachers' education is a very big area, and we all know that how difficult is it to actually start a teacher training, a bachelor in education kind of a course, or a diploma in education kind of a course, and there's so much of regulation. And we, as someone who understand the employment side of things very well, and we all know that how there's so much of demand for trained teachers, and similarly in the pharmacy sector, or similarly in the law sector, there is so much of paperwork and bureaucracy involved. Now, fundamentally, the private universities as an ecosystem has evolved because by the nature of a private university, there is a lot of freedom to actually come out with the right courses linked to market, linked to the job world, and have more and more students enroll in these courses, and freedom to actually customize the entire curriculum basis the demand of the market. That's why we're seeing the flourishing of universities which have full freedom to actually come out with the right courses and curriculum based on the industries. However, as a platform where we can influence the policy, we should also include these sectors which I talked about, which have very high potential. For example, the paramedical, the law, the education as a sector. So that's one area, and the second is the new guidelines which have come up from UGC about setting up of international foreign universities in India. I think that draft policy needs to be really reworked upon, because fundamentally the premise on which it is based, which is that a lot of youth are going overseas and a lot of money is flowing from India to overseas. That is actually, in my view, is not 100% correct. I mean, if you talk to the youth of, I would say the upper middle class youth who can afford overseas education, they are not going for just the education. They're going for a right exposure of that country, the international exposure, the overseas culture immersion, that how internationally people work together as a team and how international projects are executed. So having campuses being set up here, it is not necessary that people will just flock into those international universities set up in India. So it has to be thought through, and it has to be a level playing field for sure, where regulation has to be for equal if they are on the Indian land for any organization. There is a lot of room for new policies and new frameworks to be created, especially for creating Institute of Excellences and universities. Just to give a perspective, more than half of the population in India, which is about 140 crore, 70 crore, is less than 30 years of age, and is just only 1 in 4 of the youths are actually enrolled in higher education. The sheer size of the opportunity is humongous, right? So I think we are at the right time, and it's an inflection point in the journey of the growth and development of the education ecosystem in India, where the rules are opening up. The government is open to suggestions. If we go as a group and as a group of representatives of universities, what I have interacted with the policymakers, they are really willing now to actually come up, where we suggest something as a group of institutions, a group of higher education institutions, and they will really look into it. Some of the reforms, what I see will be game changing is, integrating on the job training and making industries as a stakeholder in the whole higher education process, bringing skilling as a very integral part of the higher education process, bringing technology into higher education, enabling, making the whole education more meaningful through an outcome-based learning. So these are the policies, these are the regulations which have been we have been seeing a lot of new draft guidelines being floated, and I'm sure this will really help the higher education institutions to create new ways to innovate. And and fundamentally, as a one nation, one policy framework, what I see is there's a lot of intervention required from all the states collectively and center to create level playing policies. So every state has different policy in terms of, because education is a state subject fundamentally. It is whether you talk about school education, higher education. In fact, a lot of states have policies. There are different policies for skill education as well. So it's high time that overarching guideline, for example, similar to what a new national education policy talks about, or let's say a new national credit framework talks about. So similarly, there has to be an overarching, a guideline for all the states where a level playing field can be created. And all these regulatory bodies, for example, NCTE or Bar Council or paramedical, there is a new council which is being formed for paramedical education in India. All these should have similar guidelines and one level playing field where institutes would be able to innovate in the type of course, innovate in how they can compete with each other from a quality perspective, from an infrastructure perspective, from the quality of education perspective, and not just from a perspective that who holds more licenses to run what kind of courses. So that's few of my views as someone who leads a higher education institute. Thank you, Ravish. All over to you.
Thank you, Parvesh sir, for your wonderful views and amazing input on various things, including various initiatives and your suggestions for the skill, integrating skill with the education. Now, I request Engineer B.S. Yadav, Chancellor IES University, to present his view. Over to you, B.S. Yadav, sir.
Thank you, Ravi. Good afternoon, everybody, and all this listener and audience, those who are connected on this platform of CGR. Good afternoon to CEGR as well. So I think I have listened both this learned this co-panelist, and they have focused quite about this regulatory issues of one nation, one education policy. So I think that this one of this burning issue, because India is a country is a very high level of diversity. And in terms of education, this one policy will be this guiding policy, but looking every state situation geographically, and other parameters, they have a different requirement as well. Looking this availability of land and regulatory norms for opening higher education institution, opening private universities. So I think there should be a focus on one policy, but same time we have to keep in mind this need of the each and every state, number one. And number two, in terms of this burning issue, is this opening up this campuses of foreign university in India. So we as a group, we as a private university, we have submitted our this suggestion to Government of India and Ministry of Education. But because this forum is very important forum, so I think this is very important issue, because in terms of profitability, because in India, all the entity are those who are non-profit basis runs, and in this draft framework there is not clear guidelines what will be the standing of all these foreign institutions which is willing to open campuses in India. Second is the governing norms of running a private universities or higher education institutions. They are also differ from the what existing norms in India for the existing institution. And definitely second part is that if government wanted to open these campuses, they should do on a certain level, like they can choose only like US 50 top ranking private universities. At least they can see how they are contributing in our Indian education ecosystem. So they can open on this thing. And I think one more issue is there in terms of parity in Indian education also. So in terms of
minority institution, minority this universities also, how they can be both all the institution can be together. What is their combined issue? How they can be solved? So I think so. Regulatory norms is very important. And second, my suggestion is that how this private institution, particularly private universities, how they can collaborate with them together. Because on many parameters, Indian universities is still performing very well. In many, if you see individually, many universities they are good in R&D. When you see combined as a QS ranking, so many parameters are there in terms of perception and others. Wherever this many universities lagging behind due to their parameters, but in terms of teaching learning process, many of our institutions are very good globally. If we see in terms of even R&D, they are also well performing. So I think we have a very good learned this panel today, thanks to Ravi. So I think we can more deliberate on this issue. Thank you so much for inviting me for this August forum. Thank you.
Thank you, B.S. Yadav, sir, Chancellor, IES University and National Vice President, CEGR. So thank you, sir. And now I request Dr. Devi Jain, National President, CEGR and Chancellor, Prestige University, to present his view. Today in his campus, there was an international conference, so he got delayed with the international delegation. So thank you, sir, for spending your valuable time on this hectic day. So we look forward to your views. Over to you, sir.
Namaskar. Good afternoon. My apology for not being able to join at the start of the webinar, but nevertheless, I had requested Ravi G that I would join once, my first session is getting completed. So I'm with you, sir. So we have our respected Professor K. Agarwal ji, our members of CEGR, Director Shri Ravi Roshan ji, and distinguished panelists and speakers at this webinar on very important and relevant subject of one nation, one education policy. So I was recently listening to a speech by Shri Deepak Bagla, the CEO of Invest India, and my chest swelled with pride as I heard him enumerate the exponential growth in nearly every sector over the last 8 to 9 years. I shall share with you some of the interesting data points which were, brought about there. The total FDI that India received since 1947 is about $950 billion, or close to $1 trillion, of which 532 came in last 8 years. And this was from 162 countries investing in 31 states of India. So the same way the unicorn story is well known. We are number 3 in the world in terms of the unicorns. Last year, India gave 1 unicorn every 29 days. This year, the duration is just 9 days. From one 22nd rank, in internet usage, we have become the world's largest resource, in terms of country using internet, and one in the digital transactions also. Now we are number 1. We know that India is the most populous country with 1.4 billion people, which is our largest human resource. And the important point here is the average age is just 29 years, which is the growth engine of the juggernaut called India. The Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji has actually fueled this engine to propel forward and deliver high-speed growth in the last 8 years. The icing on the cake is that India shall remain the youngest nation of this planet till 2070. So the task before us, the providers of education, is to skill the nation and accelerate the juggernaut like never before. For the past some time, the debate over one nation, one education system has been going on across the country. While a section of intelligentsia appears to be in favor of one nation, one education system, there are others who are opposed to this theory, and they have their own valid reasons to say so. From perceptible micro-level reforms to a subtle nuances shifts, India's education system is undergoing a sea change under the National Education Policy 2020. There is no denying the fact that education is the very important thing in person's life. So education begins from home for a child, and it is a lifelong process. Thus, education not only develops someone's skills, but also contributes to the welfare of the people by promoting a stable and a democratic society. First, the modern education system, including the English language, was actually brought to India by Lord Thomas Macaulay in 1830s, due to which teaching was confined to classrooms, and the link, I would say, the link with the nature was broken. As per the Constitution of India, the state had full control over the policies and implementation of education system in the respective states, as it was considered as a state subject. Due to this, the government of India only had limited control to decide the standards of higher education in India. With Constitutional Amendment of 1976, education came under the purview of concurrent list, wherein the policies of and programs governing the school education started being suggested from national level by the government to the state governments. So why one nation, one education? I think every state in India has its own education board. This creates a knowledge gap between students studying in same standard of different syllabus. The arguments being put forth for a single curriculum or syllabus are primarily aimed at to curtail this knowledge gap between the students. So when we talk about the advantages of a common syllabus, the Article 21A of the Constitution provides the right to education, and the RTE Act provides that every child between the ages of 4 to 6 should be given free and compulsory education. The main criticism of the said act is that though every child is getting an education, the quality of it is actually questioned. In the current scenario, many state boards do not update their syllabus frequently as per the changes in the society. This big problem can be solved if a uniform or a common syllabus is introduced in India. In the year 2020, amidst the outbreak of the COVID-19, an attempt was made to scrap the syllabus and curriculum of all state boards and place a common syllabus for the school-going children aged between 6 and 14 years across the country in the spirit of Article 21A. An advocate filed in public interest litigation seeking the court's direction into the practicability of creating one nation, one education system by merging CBSE, ICSE, and other boards in India. It underpinned that due to difference in syllabus and curriculum followed by different boards in different states, students do not get exposure to the CBSE syllabus, which is followed for all major entrance exams held in our country. However, the Supreme Court of India rejected this plea, seeking the one nation, one education board for school education across the country, as is felt that uniform syllabus will increase the learning burden on young students. Despite divided opinions, personally, I believe that education system in India needs uniformity in terms of syllabus, schooling type, instructional materials, and teaching pedagogies to ensure quality learning. One nation, one education has the potentiality to exterminate socio-economic inequality in the education realms. However, the million-dollar question is to what would be the educational objective of the proposed common board for students pursuing school and higher education in India? What will be the general contents of developing a standard curriculum? How is the center going to deal with the number of languages to be learned during the schooling? Collectively, all are big concerns for all of us. How the center is going to protect local interest and cultural traits in the proposed education system is another problem for the policymakers. People from different regions and communities have different terrestrial cultures and history. They prefer those to be embedded in the syllabus for their school and college going education. Further, children across India have different career choices and study interests, so will keep across the country trust a committee sitting in Delhi that will determine the fate of their children through a monopoly-styled one-way education board. These are the questions and concerns that need to be sorted out by the government in the interest of students as well as the country. The government has formed 6 working groups to make suggestions on key budget announcements, including the Prime Minister Kaushal Vikas Yojana 4.0, Skill India, Digital Platform, Skill India International Centers, National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme, National Digital Library, and Teachers Training. According to a report, a skill mapping study of the Ministry of Skills Development and Entrepreneurship across 16 countries has projected demand of 17 million skilled workforce in next 5 years. The Union Budget 2022-23 envisages a launch of revamped PMKVY 4.0, setting up 30 Skill India international centers to open up job opportunities for Indian youth overseas. An academic institution, we all need to be part of this PMKVY 4.0 to churn out skilled manpower, not only for India, but for the whole world, as well as to make India the largest skilled manpower providers in the world. So beside this skill development, research and innovations are very important areas where the higher education institutions need to do a lot to catch up with the world's top 100 universities and research institutions. A lot needs to be done by policymakers. According to the World Intellectual Property Organization, the bulk of the research spend in India is driven by central government, accounting for almost 45% of the total R&D spend. Another 41% is attributed to industry. The rest is spent on the higher education sector and state governments. Roughly 61% of the central government's research expenditure is in the area of defense, atomic energy, and space. This provides that R&D in India is not only inadequate, but also lopsided. The key reasons for this abysmal performance are inadequate involvement of industry and higher education sector, as well as the lack of collaboration between these entities, and the government is actively promoting R&D. Taking due cognizance of this, I feel that there is an urgent need for reassessment of our research policies, procedures, and practices. There is a need to develop strategies and take necessary measures for enhancing research and promoting research quality at our higher education institutions. A goal-oriented and focused blueprint needs to be developed to achieve the highest possible standards in research and teaching, learning, in order to keep pace with the changing global trends. The National Education Policy NEP 2020 report also advocates for a research ecosystem under the stewardship of the National Research Fund, that is NRF. I do believe that under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, the country is poised for a rapid growth and economic development. Towards this, we need our youth to be trained and skilled to compete with the world's best. This is only possible if our universities and colleges upgrade itself in the areas of skill development, research and innovation to emerge as high quality temples of learning, shunning out global leaders and entrepreneurs who will take India to the very top. So thank you for hearing from me. I am looking forward to hearing the point of view of our learned panel and on this very important issue. And thank you, sir, for giving me to share my views on this area.
Thank you, Dr. David Jain, sir, National President, CEGR, and Chancellor, Prestige University. Indeed, we have noted down your all suggestions, and as you know, we will be coming up with the recommendation report and policy paper, and soon we will inculcate all the suggestions made by all the promoters, vice chancellors, and other eminent academicians, and we will make that recommendation report in the public domain, and we will send that recommendation report to all the stakeholders. And for your information, a large number of audience, initial feedback is that large number of audience have joined over the various social media, including Facebook and YouTube, and they are viewing a large number of audience has joined this webinar. So thank you everyone for making this event a successful. Now I request Dr. Arya Patnaik, Secretary, Raul Kela Institute of Management Studies from Odisha, to present his view. Over to you, Dr. Arya Patnaik, sir.
Thank you, Ravi G. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And special thanks to Ravi G, because the way he is coordinating all these seminars, and it is very much useful for all of us. And I will definitely thank Kanwar Sekharji, who has covered majority of the points while he was giving his talk, and also to Dr. Sandeep Pandeyji, because we are having two Sandeepji. So I will thank also Sandeep Marwaji, who must be in this CEGR function, and P. Krishna Dasji, Pravesh ji, and Davis ji, who have already talked many things and covered many of the points in this seminar. Before I would like to say a few words about my views. Definitely, the new educational policy 2020 has, which is really good. But however, there are certain points which we are discussing, and still some more points are there which we would like to focus. Basically, the uniformity, as all other speakers have told, it is very essential. But in my views, there are some basic things like exist policy. If we talk about exist policy, keeping records once the students are leaving the institute, again coming back after 2 to 3 years, will be very difficult in part of a university or institute keep records and to conduct the examinations, to evaluate the things. And in the meantime, many things are happening. The courses are getting changed, and how to cope up with the new course, and the syllabus are getting changed. So if somebody has gone through for first year, first semester, second semester, and after that they are coming with third semester, fourth semester, by the time the course has got changed, it will be really difficult in order to allow them and continue the system. Similarly, there are some other points, like we are talking about cross-disciplinary choices. Suppose now, as per the new policy, somebody studying in science stream, he wants to take some of the subjects in the art stream. It is possible, but will it be really effective one? Whether it will be possible in our part to ensure that we will be able to do such. Similarly, academic bank credit system. Now there are majority of the institutes who are not universities. So they are either affiliated to the university or associated with a university. So how we are going to maintain the records? How the credits has to be properly maintained? So this is also a question. Similarly, now we were discussing, because we are having NIT Rourkela. In NIT Rourkela, some students, suppose they want to come completing 1 or 2 years from NIT Srichar, but they are telling we are not going to allow the students who are coming from a lower standard, in the sense lower type. We are going to accept only who are above us, who are better than us. But those who are below our ranking, we are not going to take them. That will create problem for us. So because there are some institutes who are having NIRF ranking, for them it is not a problem because there is a ranking. So those institutes who doesn't have that ranking, how they are to differentiate, how to finalize which institutes, which students are better than us, which college is better than us or inferior than us. If we are going to take those students who doesn't have the basic minimum standard, to teach them, to promote them and educate them and bring it to a particular standard will be a very difficult task. So there are many such points which is there. Similarly, in our country, we are suffering because majority of the institute, they manage the show with the fees of the students, but we do not have any uniform fee structure also. Yes, I do agree that while institutions are running, they should have various activities to run the show. But there are many institutions who runs with the fee structure. So that is also required, because although there is a national fee structure, but that is not getting adopted by all the states. Each states have their different opinion. They have different standardized systems. They have fee structure committee. They don't consider the national fee structure. So there are many such issues which we need that it should be properly taken up, like CEGR is doing. They are collecting lot many informations, lot many views from various chancellors and vice chancellors and professors and doctorates who are having knowledge, and those who are able to assess the things and can visualize the future. So keeping on these many points, we would like to make an summary and let again CEGR reviews that, and taking a committee, let us review the things, then let us put up before the government, try to convince them and try to implement them. So in this, I would like to say that Narendra Modi ji has done a great thing by trying to create a uniform platform, but there are various points in various angles which needs to be properly we have to do research on that and try to find out a way out, and then only if we are going to ratify or implement those things, I think our country will definitely go to the next level. With this, I once again thank Ravi G and all the members in the panel and our CEGR team for organizing such events every year, many times in different part of the country. So with this, I thank all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arya Patnaik, sir. You rightly pointed out many points which is to be addressed at the national level, like the regulations, curriculum, and many more issues need to be tackled on the national level. And now I request Mr. Kumar Shekhar Vijayendra sir for the last remarks. Kumar sir. And now I request Mr. Parvez Dudani sir, Chancellor Medhavi Skills University, for the last remarks, concluding remarks.
Thank you, Ravi G. So just two thoughts to it, that as a collective platform, we should really summarize our suggestions and take it up to the policymakers. And to my experience, the doors are open. They're all ears to us. They are willing to listen. And if the case has a merit, it will be for sure implemented. So that's what I have been seeing in last couple of months, that there is a sense of urgency within the ministry to actually bring transformation into the education, make it more structured, make it more equitable, make it more accessible, make it more affordable, and bring everything at one one platform, and bring parity in how education is being delivered. So that's my thought, Ravi G. Thank you very much.
Now I request Mr. Kumar Shekhar Vijayendra sir, Chancellor, Soviet University, to present the concluding remarks and completing all the viewpoint in a compiled way. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ravish, and I'm really happy that everybody raised some very, very valid points. And one thing is for sure, that keenness is there for implementation of national education policy. Make our nation, one education destination, not only for India, but a global destination. Challenges are there, as I mentioned earlier also, that some of the challenges are regional in nature, some of the challenges are national in nature. We all have to work on that. I'm happy that everybody has raised their voice, discussed and deliberated on very important issues. This is first time when I'm here after Dr. Devish Jain took over as the national president, and his thoughts are, as always, very clear. Now, as I mentioned earlier also, I will not repeat what everybody has said, but as I requested earlier also, that whatever concerns you have, please do share. Whatever recommendations you have, please do share. Because these platforms can only become impactful when together we will raise voice. When advocacy will be there for different issues at different platforms. This dream, I'm using the word dream, of making India a global educational destination is not only for certain global universities to come to India, as we all are talking about, we are worried, we are showing our concern, but it has the potential, it will become world group, the epicenter of education for the world otherwise also, and the major contribution will be of our universities, our institutions, as always it had been. My good wishes to everyone, and in advance, wishes for the colorful festival which is coming ahead. I hope that हम सब मिलके ज्ञान के रंग से देश को रंगेंगे. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kumar Shekhar Vijayendra sir, for the concluding remarks. And now we are on the brink of the closing the first inaugural session, and then we will go ahead for the technical session. With this, now I'm thankful to Dr. David Jain, National President, CEGR, and Chancellor, Prestige University, for the for his view, and we are thankful to Mr. Kumar Shekhar Vijayendra sir, mentor CEGR, immediate past President CEGR, and Chancellor Soviet University, for the opening remarks and the concluding remarks also. So always a great support. We are thankful to Mr. Parvez Dudani, Chancellor Medhavi Skills University, Northeast, for his wonderful views. You came for the first time. We look forward to your long and fruitful association with you for the longer duration. We are grateful to Mr. Arya Patnaik, Secretary, Raul Kela Institute of Management Studies, for the views at a very short notice. Thank you, sir. Then we are also grateful to Dr. P. Krishnadas, Chairman, Nehru Group of Institutions from Kerala. So thank you, sir. And we are also thankful to Dr. Sandeep Pandey and all other persons. And with the permission of all, now we are starting the first technical session. So this is the, now I request Dr. K. Pathapan, Vice Chancellor, D.Y. Patil Agriculture Technological University from Kolhapur. Over to you, sir. What's your view on the one nation, one education policy? At what type of area we can have the one policy and where we can have the autonomy? We look forward to your views. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, Ravi G. First of all, let me thank CEGR for giving me an opportunity to speak on very important topic. As NEP 2020 says, one nation, one education policy. In the meantime, I am little concerned also over listening from all the stalwarts of education sector of the country. At the point of time when we are giving red carpet welcome to the foreign universities to India, I feel that the preparation for one nation, one education policy is not enough or half done. Because, we are a multi-versatile nation wherein regional difference is there. There is no uniformity between the states, diversity in culture and language. As rightly pointed out by Dr. Krishnadas Ji of Nehru institutions, that even the land reforms varies from state to state. I too belong to Kerala, where the land ceiling is 15 acres. You cannot hold more than 15. Whereas where I am sitting now, my campus is about 300 acres of beautiful green, clean campus in Kolhapur in Maharashtra. Resource constraints. We have a shortage of quality teachers, educational infrastructure, financial resource constraint, and all. Implementing a uniform education policy across the country needs significant investment in terms of both resources and infrastructure that I doubt we don't fulfill that. We haven't risen up to that level. Number third challenge is the resistance from states. Certainly, my state will have their own reservations. The other states will have their own resistance. Similarly, from private sector, there will be a lot of resistance due to very strong fundamental reasons. So I would conclude that this is there is a lack of preparedness and inadequate monitoring and evaluation to look after all these challenges is also not in place. So one nation, one policy may be a noble idea. Implementing it poses significant challenges, what I mentioned just now. Therefore, policymakers must carefully evaluate the challenges and potential solutions to ensure successful implementation of such a policy. Basically, the policy, in some aspect, it is good. In the sense, it is aiming for uniformity, it is aiming for national integration, And if it provides sufficient employability also to our students or graduates, as well, full utilization of our resources. In that aspect, this policy may be good, which is postulating certain things like early childhood care and education, multidisciplinary education. Here I have a strong point. My observation is that rather than multidisciplinary, multi-institutional or multi-organizational collaborative projects must be there, collaborative discussions must be there, collaborative education policy must be drawn. In my university, A.V. Patil Agricultural Technical University, I'm the founder vice chancellor, and I have been given as a state private university, came into existence by the Maharashtra State Act, passed in the assembly. The state private university has its freedom to revise, refine the syllabus. I have all my School of Technology courses, which were refined with the support of industry people. For example, BTech Computer Science and Engineering with specialization in artificial intelligence and machine learning, I conducted a workshop on curriculum revision, and with the support of industrial leaders, IBM, Infosys, TCS, and all stalwarts in this area were called for. 2 days we sat together and revised and refined our syllabus on artificial intelligence and machine learning. I asked them what the industry need. So my syllabus must be industry driven. We revised the syllabus, and there is a huge demand for that course now. The first academic year, we took only 80 students, and in the second academic year, 240 students are enrolled now. So the freedom to revise the syllabus is vested with the state private university. So I revised the syllabus. So industry driven syllabus must be there. And our pedagogy is experiential learning. In agriculture engineering, I am teaching my students here in this university on the concept of seeing is believing and doing is experiencing. So experiential learning is the core competency of our university. So similar kind of vocational education as well as experiential learning component, it is a must, and it should be uniformly done all over the states as a nation. Then it is good. Not only with our states, those who are coming in as foreigners or the foreign universities, so-called, as rightly pointed out again by Krishnadas ji, that they are not coming for charity. They are not coming for charity. Please note that. So we have to equip ourselves before jumping into action. Similarly, I do agree that there must be a common umbrella under which the agricultural education or the National Agricultural Education Accreditation Board or Indian Medical Council or Indian Veterinary Council or Indian Bar Association. So all these institutions must be under one umbrella. And it must be a single window system with which uniform guidelines must be there for all the states and all. It needs lot of preparations. In that part, we are lacking very much. So I would like to give ideas as far as the land requirement is concerned for an agricultural college, or the infrastructure required for an agricultural and technical university. In that aspect, I could support the CEGR for making a white paper on this and submit it to Honorable Union Minister for Higher Education before implementing in toto about the National Education Policy 2020 on this One Nation, One Education policy. Here I would like to place on record appreciation on having discussion, deliberation, debating, and developing a white paper by CEGR and the group of institutions working under this broader umbrella, especially the stalwarts like, Dr. Kunwar ji, Sandeep ji, Krishnadas ji, Yadav ji, Davish Jain ji, and all. And especially I thank Ravish Roshan to give an opportunity to speak on this topic. As the founder vice chancellor of this university, I especially thank you, Mr. Ravish, and the leaders of CEGR. And thank you very much for listening to me also. These are my strong observations over this one nation, one education policy as far as India is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor K. Prathapan, Vice Chancellor D.Y. Patil Agriculture Technological University, Kolhapur. Thank you, sir, for your amazing views. Now I request Dr. Indra Mani, Vice Chancellor Vasantrao Nayak Marathwada Krishi University, for his views. Over to you, sir. Dr. Indra Mani, sir. Thank you, sir, for the first time coming on the CEGR platform. We look forward to your support in the coming time also, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm speaking from BNMKB Parbhani, Basantrao Nayak Marathwada Krishi Vidyapit. Before this, I joined this university 6 months ago, and before that I was in ICR, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, at Indian Agriculture Research Institute, New Delhi. So I'm representing in one way, and my predecessor, Professor K. Prathapan Saab, was speaking on agriculture education also. So I represent in one way the National Agriculture Research System, NARS, and which covers ICR, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, which has about 110 institutions of agriculture research, including IRI, and then 74 universities, state agriculture universities, central agriculture universities, and all. And this whole education system is governed by education division of ICAR, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, which is working very hard to make agricultural education effective one, and connecting to research system, connecting to extension system, and so in universities around 20,000 faculty, agriculture universities, you will find a large number of students, but still we feel that we are not able to impart education to a large number of the total enrollment in agriculture is not sufficient, and that's why we also feel that private universities, agriculture universities, are very, very important to impart education. And so a number of, and the ICR has a system of recognizing these institutions, and mention was made about accreditation, etc. ICR provides recognition, accreditation even to private institutions. But it is true that there is a lot of gap. That's what we are talking: one nation, one education policy. So I also support that one nation, one education policy is important with respect to all, which is whether it is faculty label, faculty selection, recruitment, their training, their skilling. Means a good faculty is important. Facility, along with faculty facility is important. So there will be, some institutions are blessed with all different kind of facilities. Others are lacking in different ways. And but we give our degree and call it that they are basically a total scientific or teachers pool for the country. So those such type of gaps are there, and then evaluation system, teaching system is one, but evaluation system there is need of
a level of uniformity. So, as I said that education to all we are now talking about, and Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, and for that lot of effort need to be made on education, particularly at the agricultural education. I will confine my discussion to agricultural education only. So, my dear friends, as I mentioned, that a very big infrastructure and education system prevails in the country, and of late there has been a very some important steps have been taken with respect to improve the quality of education in universities, and Government of India, Ministry of Agriculture and Education Division of ICR has implemented a program called NAHEP, National Higher Education Program, and we will be happy to note that we are able to improve. We are basically improving education infrastructure in all different universities, agriculture universities, with respect to research infrastructure, teaching infrastructure, and my university, and like this, many other universities have been given a big grant. So the tune of around 20 crore rupees given to SAUs, and to improve their teaching and research infrastructure. And today only I sent a group of 14 students to Asian Institute of Technology, Bangkok. Similarly, all other institutes, have sent UG student and PG student and PhD scholars to different universities of the world, including number of US universities and other developed and high class universities to bridge the gap between whatever is available and best they can learn from there. Similarly, large number of teachers have been deputed to those important labs of the world that and to learn and come back with the upskilling and their knowledge, upscaling their knowledge, and lot of improvement have been there. So agriculture education in this way is progressing very well. Now we are thinking that agriculture education should be brought to the lower level also in a big way, in the sense syllabus, etc. of in CBSE at the board level. Idea is that large number of boys and girls who enroll, and many times they leave education in between. Okay, NEP is there. We know that what will be the what are the good aspects of NEP and all this. But what is thinking that even some person in particular in rural areas, even if he or she leaves education in between, then at least that much education, and normally they adopt farming. So if up to that level we have given education as agricultural education in sizable amount, so they can take up their agriculture and agriculture practices in a better way. So this is another thinking. And one most important aspect of agriculture education and the research system, I would like to tell that we have taken in big way the startup ecosystem and entrepreneurial development and incubation. So all different, agriculture universities, with the help of institutions like NARM, National Academy of Agriculture Research and Management, then other institutions like Manage in Hyderabad, then our institute there in IRI, Indian Agriculture Research Institutes, a big system of technology management and this innovation and startup system has been placed, and the scheme is called Raftar. The funding is from Ministry of Agriculture, from RKBY, Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, and if you have, even irrespective of your education level, even if you are not even high school or intermediate, that doesn't matter. But if you have idea, and that idea seems to be potential one, then our ministry, that means, and ICR is going to help you with the rupees 5 lakh rupees grant in aid. And if you have an idea of, and with proof of concept, then you can be given a sum of rupees up to 25 lakh grant in aid. Ever never in the in the past, and nowhere in the even the world I have seen this kind of help. This skilling. This ecosystem is in all other sectors also, but in agriculture, it is particularly being attempted, and a lot of improvements. A lot of people are taking up who have idea, who have something to help the farmers. So they are coming with the technology, and later on, government supports them in other way, like upscaling the things. And you can ask for multiple grant if you have done to some extent. You have come from one one institutions, you have taken funds, and you can take further fund for that one, and you can realize and cherish your idea. So a very big effort is going on for skill development in this startup world. And similarly, skill development has been a major concern, and institutions and universities have been asked, and we are all doing skilling on different aspects. It's not necessary that as high end, we say to rural youth also. There are programs, and we are working, particularly my university is working with industry, and under CSR funding, and farmers and farming youth, they need a lot of skilling. So we have taken a program from, like, if I take my own case, here we have taken 50 lakh rupees recently was given by New Holland company, and they just to train, some around 1,500 farmers youth we have to train in mechanization area, so that machines and technologies are available many times, but skilling and training is not there. So universities like ours are doing on this. Similarly, we are going to have a center of mechanization farm type industry. They will be spending few crores rupees under their CSR. And now one of our previous speaker mentioned about that industry support is required. So there, what we are doing, that a center will be there, and we will be skilling the youth, training the even students also, and even those who have not very good formal education, but they have interest in these technical areas. So some of the universities and our system is to basically reach out all those which are unreached. So, and for that, it is very important, as mentioned by other speakers also, that we must see that an ecosystem where we call it now triple helix model, and you must be knowing that triple helix model of development, whether it's in education or research or extension and all, and that is basically triple helix means three partners are the government and industry and institutions, and in interwoven way, in a parallel bracketed, by getting bracketed, they have to work together, and then only the knowledge generated by the institution and skill developed by institution or technology generated by institution can get a proper support of the government, and then industry can take it, scale it up, and take it to the end users and all those who need it. So similarly, those things are required in education also. My only worry is that many of the institutions, including government institutions, are lacking infrastructure. Labs are very in poor state, and so what is required that many times government fund is not available that much. So all efforts should be made to, bring different stakeholders who can, and particularly I'm talking about industry. So that we can see a new India. Really, what we are calling that, Atmanirbhar Bharat. So Atmanirbhar Bharat will become when, this education level is increased, education, the facilities should be provided. Very good initiatives have been taken. You always knowing that I-STEM concept has been launched by Principal Scientific Advisor of the Prime Minister Sahab, and that says that sharing researchers and resources, sharing all resources. We should think that if some resources there with IIT, with NIT, with any other institution, and with great institution, there should be provision to share by all. So that is one aspect which is, it has started, but it is not widespread. So all round efforts should be made that whatever optimization, whatever resources are available in this era of information technology, this era of where you can reach at different places, you can know that where some instrument is available, you can indent, you can go, you can use. If it is from taxpayers' money, it is from government's money, why not all the institutions should be provided opportunity to use? So number of things are there. I personally feel that if we say one nation, one education, first we should see that how to facilitate near similar and same is not possible, but near similar facility, faculty, and help and all those, so that we can really we'll call that one nation, one education. Policy is okay, but effectiveness will be there when facilities are extended. So lot need to be done, in my opinion, and UGC is working hard. Association of Indian Universities is working hard, planning on this thing. All discussion, etc., is going on. When that day will come, that we can say that we have reached that level where we can say one nation, one education, and all those. But yes, at least thinking in that line and putting all efforts is necessary, in my opinion. Every institution should start working on it, and at least on certain aspects we should say that we should show that by any means, either by sharing research resources, or by taking industry support, or by taking some support of some institution nearby, our job is, if we are having an institution, we are having an education institution, first place should be that I will provide a good education. What may be the, so you can arrange from different sources and resources, and my friend. At a different, my friends, it is very, very important. So, and such dialogue should continue. I thank the organizers at least to take such initiative. At least this discussion, converge at a point where we can come out, find out what are the difficulties, the challenges, and somehow those challenges should be surmounted through this common and combined effort. At this stage, I will stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Indramani, Vice Chancellor Vasantrao Naik, Marathwada Krishi Vidyapeeth. Thank you, sir, for your amazing view on the various aspects of the higher education, where we can have the uniformity with the autonomy. So now I thank you, sir. Now we have a very learned and seasoned academician with us, Professor Rakesh Ranjan, Vice Chancellor, Sushant University, Gurugram, and former Vice Chancellor of G. Hingri University, Uttarakhand. So we welcome you, sir. Now I'm looking forward to your views. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Ravi G, for giving me opportunity. Thank you, CEGR, for providing a platform where we deliberate on such an important issue, discussing one nation, one education policy. I think it's a wonderful topic, and my previous speaker have deliberated well, and they had a wonderful insight on whether we should have a one nation or one policy with freedom to explore, freedom to experiment. I think I would like to rephrase a little bit about one nation, one policy. It is, when it comes to my mind, it is one nation, one educational framework under which the all universities and academic institutions should work. And precisely in that directions we are moving. The new education policy which has come, so this policy is giving a platform to every educational institutions to work under a given domain. However, it gives us a lot of freedom to experiment and make the institutions unique. We have to also see that as the India is evolving, I think we all are aware that after independence, our priority were different. We wanted first to feed our nations and make them literate rather than educated. But in 1968, when I believe that the first formatted education policy which has come, that has added value to our education systems, and since then it has started evolving further. The next policy which has come in India was, if I remember correctly, it was in 1986, which was modified in 1992, and after nearly 30 years, this new education policy has come. Over the years, in 75 years, our priority had changed. India had changed. India has changed from a very poor nations, underdeveloped nations in 1947 to aspiring nation with lot of the flying colors added to our kitty, and now we are thinking on a line which is in the line of what the modern world thinks, and hence come educations, and therefore evolution in education has to also see in that particular framework. Therefore, it is not only the responsibility of the government, which we always often talk about, that government should align us in this particular way. Government has already provided us a framework that, look, if you want, if you are in academic institution, you have got a freedom to become, whether you wanted to be research institute or the teaching institute or autonomous institutions. And under 3, we have to see ourselves where we can fit in and what is our vision. According to the vision of the institutions, we have to align all the resources and try to make it what my previous speaker, Dr. Indramani, was telling, that at the end of the day, it's the quality that matters. That in our available resources, we have to see that we are competing with the international standard as far as the quality of delivering education is concerned. Now look, the uniformity is good, but uniqueness is very, very important for us. There are thousands of universities in India, all are having some unique features added to them. Now we have to strengthen our uniqueness which we possess, and we have to keep adding value to it. Now, no doubt that the research is one of the integral part. We talk about industry, academia, interactions, but we should not forget that with the moving and developing world and matching the pace of technological developments, we have to also see that what our past have been. Because if we know our past, then we derive a lot of confidence in ourselves to move ahead. And fortunately, the framework which we have in our hand, which most of the universities are working to implement, I have no hesitation to say that it gives us enough freedom to teach our students about the past, to expose our student about the culture, to see that the students can opt the subject of their passion and their liking. So this framework, somehow I am liking it very, very much, because it is actually giving the opportunity to the students and academicians to put in whatever they wanted to for the development of academics and a student per se. Having said so, all depends upon implementation, that how we are going to implement this particular freedom which has been given in that particular framework for the students, and make them employable, and make them not only employable but also encourage them to generate the employment. When I say generate the employment, it does not necessarily means that you have to establish a big industry. Now, in this particular era, in last 5 to 7 years, you have seen that the startup culture has come up, and a startup culture is everywhere. Farm, field to the house, the agro business. I think Dr. Mani is from the agro university. Lot of startup has come up in the agriculture business, where the milk product is transported from the village directly to the doorsteps. The fresh fruits and vegetables are delivered, and they are being delivered in highly professional and way. And the industry is generating a lot of human resource opportunity and the employment. Similarly, if you see the food business has grown like anything. Transport business, that Ola, Uber, what we see, that has given a lot of opportunities to unemployed people. They have learned driving and they are happily employed and earning a lot of money. Why I am trying to give these example? Because it does not now mean that you need to have an industry like Cisco, Tata, Telco, the big land you require, the massive infrastructure required. Sitting in a small room, managing all the transportation issues and B2B, the business has been giving enough opportunity for everyone if they wanted to be in the field of entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is another things which we have to encourage in our academic curriculum. And fortunately, the startup and this entrepreneurship EDC, what we call in and we have in our educational systems, is now vibrant. And I, as a vice chancellor, could see in my universities lot of ideas has come, which we have filtered it out, and now we are incubating, we are hand holding them. What we are doing is we are giving them opportunity to further progress. We are giving them legal support to get their company registered. We are also doing hand holding for them to prepare their balance sheets, P&L projections by our own expert CA, and then doing their brand marketing so that their confidence can go. And I'm really happy to see that the students are doing really good. They have a wonderful idea, all the new age ideas, probably many of the ideas which we never thought in the recent times, those have been now implemented by them. So the education is one thing. Education's anyway we are giving into a particular framework, but this new education policy is giving us enough opportunities and enough autonomy wherein we can, ask our student to follow their passion. I think recently, I think 6 to 7 months back, it was very nice to see that the BITS Pilani has offered 1 year full freedom for those budding entrepreneurs, that they don't have to come to the class. If they are doing good there in their startup, that attendance requirement has been waived. We have to also see, as an academic administrator, we are very strict about the attendance which we monitor every semester. But we need to, when we ask for the autonomy, we have to give the autonomy to the students also. Of course, it cannot be a generic the policy that every students will be waived. But in the university, if you see some potentials among the students, I think we as a the vice chancellor, we as an academic leader, we should not shy away giving autonomy to the students to learn wherever they are. Fortunately, UGC has mandated us to offer a certain percentage of online courses. Now these online courses is also very, very important for us. It is not merely that give the lecture online and a student should pass. The quality of the online contents which we are preparing in every universities is to be also seen. I'm very optimistic. I could see the face of Ravi. Probably he wanted to hint me that my time is up. But the topic
No,
is.
you continue, sir. You continue.
Okay, I could see that Dr. Professor Sancheti he had joined.
Sancheti
So
sir is the last
welcome, and
speaker.
it is always nice to hear from Professor Sancheti and learn his point of view. So I would stop here, and I would once again thank Dr. Ravi Rosanji and the CEGR for giving me the opportunity. Thank you very much. I think we cannot hear Ravi G.
Sir, you continue for 2-3 minutes, sir. I'm not here to disturb you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, when we go to the class and when we see that there is a monotony, then suddenly we project a certain figure in the class that is that is only to bring the attention back to the student in the class, and the same face Ravi's face is doing for us, that he is bringing back attention to everyone on the topic. Yeah, we were talking about the one nation, one policy. So here I would like to conclude in 2-3 minutes that look, the autonomy has been provided under a framework which we call it NEP, and every university is working hard to implement in letter and spirit. And as I mentioned, that it is up to us that how we are implementing those freedom that has been provided to us for the benefit of the students is to be seen. And I'm sure that the August panel will agree that it is the implementation that matters more than what is written in the policy documents. I'm sure that once it is done, which is likely to be done very, very soon in almost all the university, the fruit we will start harvesting in 2-3 years time. And we would be seeing lot many graduates coming out from the college, not seeking the job, but creating the job for all. And the vision of Honorable Prime Minister to make our economy 5 trillion will not be a dream, but it will be a reality very, very soon. I think I was listening to our Honorable Prime Minister and the Finance Minister also, that we are aiming not only for the 5 trillion economy, but time to come, we wanted to be number 1, 2, 3 economy in the world. That is possible, but the seeding for that will be the seeding ground will be the university only. We all have to take a few vows that we will produce the qualified graduates who are proud about their past that was missing so far, and the new education policy gives us. So therefore, in my university, we have started giving courses on Indian knowledge systems. And that, it was a surprise to me because, I, from the engineering background, I have not explored about the glorious past of Indian culture, history, science, technology, mathematics. But when we were framing and discussing about the content of Indian knowledge systems, I found that, look, we had everything before. It is only we never claimed it. That those, the evolutionary process, those mathematical formula, even the concept of Vayuyan, the concept of the disastrous, the equipments that has been used during Mahabharata, similar to what we call atom bomb and all. So these things are there with us. We never, in formatted manner, we've never learned it. So with this, thank you, CEGR, thank you, Ravi G, and thank you, the panelists on the topic which you have chosen, which is very, very relevant. I'm sure that other panelists will add value to whatever we have discussed so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Rakesh Ranjan, Vice Chancellor, Sushant University, for coming and presenting your views on the various aspects of One Nation, One Education policy. Now we have a learned and seasoned academician of India, Dr. Sandeep Sancheti, Vice Chancellor of Marwadi University. Before that, he was the Vice Chancellor of SRM University, Chennai. And before that, he was the Vice Chancellor of Manipal University, Rajasthan, and he is one of the few academicians who headed almost all the NITs. He headed more than 10 NITs, and he is a learned and seasoned academician. We welcome you, sir. It's a privilege to have you and listen to you. Over to you, Dr. Sandeep Sancheti, sir.
Thank you, Ravi G. Thank you, CEGR, for inviting me. First of all, my apologies that I joined you late. That is because our cultural fest was coming to an end today in Marwadi University at Rajkot, and that various guests were there, so I was held up there. But nonetheless, I'm able to join you now. Very nice to hear Professor Ranjan, who was just talking to us a few moments back. And it's a nice thing to deliberate upon what you call one nation, one policy, because policies are the ones which becomes the bedrock of any, you can say, success or failure when it comes to growth, when it comes to implementation, when it comes to deficiencies or improvements or whatever it may be. And fortunately for us, in education domain, the recent policy probably reflects the theme of one nation, one policy very, very nicely. And of course, there have been policies prior to this, but those policies were fairly old, whereas the change in the entire functional system was happening very fast. The growth of technology, the growth of newer domains, and maybe the growth of challenges also, everything was becoming very fast. And therefore, this policy, I would say, is a boon in terms of educational, driving educational domain. When I talk about one nation, one policy, I'd like to make a couple of statements here. I do not know whether they are concurring with the previous speakers or they probably would be countering them. But in any case, we are open for healthy debate and we need to learn various aspects. So I'll give those various aspects from my side. Number one, what is policy? So I'm not giving any Googled answer. I'm not trying to give any dictionary answer as well. I would say policy is something as a broad structure for doing certain things. And within the structure, and please see the parlance or equivalence with the building kind of a structure, that you have a RCC structure, you have columns and pillars and all that. So that can be called as a structure. Maybe the roof also is there. And then you have what you call body and flesh. And body and flesh would be possibly the floorings, the almiras and various other things can be called body and flesh. in equivalent terms. And therefore, that's also part of the policy, but not necessarily defined by the top level policy makers. The third thing would be a little bit what you can call it is the micro detailing. What do I put in the on the table? What do I put in my almirahs or things like that? That can be micro detailing. So policy can be probably defined in three pieces. One, the structure, the second could be the body, and the third could be the local level details or micro detailing. And therefore, whether I would call this as a one policy, I do not know. I don't mind, because once it comes to body and flash, things can change. Best example will be various housing boards. They give you the same structure once they give you a skeleton, as they call it sometimes. And within that skeleton, you do your planning, and then you make your body something like that. You make your own house where your bedroom, drawing room, living room, dining room, kitchen, etc. Like that you can do. And when it comes to micro detailing, you can do orientations, whatnot. And therefore, policy should have what we call certain features. Any policy should have certain features. And those features are divergence or diversity, openness, that I can orient it slightly according to my requirement. Flexibility is another word for that. And personalization is a new word for that, because it trickles, or its trickle goes down to the lowest level of the user of the policy. If I want to use education policy for my benefit as a student, then I need a component what we call personalization, that I can decide my mode of education, I can decide my medium of education, I can decide my speed and the rate of education, I can decide my nature, combination of education, be it commerce, engineering, science, mixed or not mixed, whatever. And therefore, policy, especially in education parlance, because education is the one which is one of the diverse things which one can handle in this world. I'm making a product, there can be 10 variety, 100 variety at the most, or whatever that may be. I'm making a house, there can be maybe 200 combinations in which I can make the house on a given piece of land. But when I'm talking of education, there can be thousands and thousands, or maybe sometimes you can call them million combinations which are possible. And that's why the policy should have what I call the diversity, the openness, the flexibility, and personalization. That's one aspect. The second aspect is who makes policy. Policies, obviously, in the context of education, as we are discussing these days, is NEP 2020. Made by whom? By the government. When I say made by government, means it bears government's approval and stamp. It bears our policy makers a stamp. But who has made it? It's people like you and me who have made it. Dr. Kasturi Rangan and his team of learned experts, who are, of course, the face for it. They spoke to lots of, you can say, contributors or stakeholders, and then they brought about this policy. Before this policy came, there were many such committees which were partly successful, partly failure, in the sense that their policies didn't see light of the day. One of them was Yashpal Committee. One of them was TSR Subramaniam Committee. One of them possibly was Hari Gautam Committee, and I do not know if there are more committees. Those were there. Some other things came to public, and therefore we know the names. I presume this policy which we are seeing is an amalgamation of lots and lots of ideas from those 3 or 4 bodies. Then every state unit which was handling the higher education, then every professional body like AIU or like EPSI or like CEGR, everyone contributed to that. They wrote their views. FICCI and industrial bodies also shared, CII and all that. And so it's an amalgamation of lots of thought processes right from top to bottom. The best thing about this policy is that this was, once a draft was made, it was made public. And then once again, there were more than 2 lakh you can say proposals or comments were received by the policymakers, Dr. Kasturi Rangan's committee. And obviously, some of them must have been very long. Some of them must have been commenting on many aspects and so on and so forth. So it's wonderful that the policy was very thoroughly researched and discussed amongst stakeholders, in my opinion. So that's how the policies are made. But then remember that policy cannot be limited to what you call only the central government. Fortunately or unfortunately, education is also a domain of subject, state subject. And therefore, the states like Gujarat or Rajasthan or maybe Tamil Nadu or West Bengal all will play their role and will tailor it slightly according to their needs, which should be possible. So number one, policy can be made as a one nation, one policy. As a nation, we should have one policy, but that one policy should be flexible enough to give some margin and some leeway or some freedom to the states. And then, of course, we know that when it comes to, that's as far as the policy, but then there are standards which we ought to follow. The standards which we ought to follow can be made by different stakeholders. It can be by the central government or our government itself. It can be by bodies like UGCs and AICTs and other councils. It can be by professional bodies. Sometimes it can be Council for Architecture or Digital Council or Bar Council. And sometimes it can be by the state. And sometimes there is no one to make those standards. So I'll give you an example. For professional bodies like AICT, they make standards, policy for engineering or management and so on and so forth. When it comes to agriculture, it is primarily driven by the state. And when it comes to subjects like planning and physiotherapy, I'm sure you are aware that there is hardly any body which will drive them effectively. Certainly, they are not a statutory body. There are some bodies, but they are not professionally or officially recognized bodies, as far as I know. Therefore, policy making can be at different level and with different control, which is there. So in all, I would like to say that overarching policy is very fine. The overarching policy's main role and duty, what will be the role of a policy, will be setting the expectations, what the nation wants, what the country wants. Similarly, giving new benchmarks is fine, that you have to attain these benchmarks. For example, when it comes to expectations, you can say, oh, we need to give skilling a good position because skilling gets the job, skilling gets the future safe, and so on and so forth. When I say that policy is for setting new benchmarks, it is something like GER, that our gross enrollment ratio should go up to 50%, or we can have more universities and so on and so forth. So we can set new benchmarks which are there. Benchmarks can also be that we should attain few institutions should attain top 100 or top 200 position in the world, so on and so forth. So policy can also set the tone for that. And policy can explain the newer approaches. Newer approaches possibly could be, one is multidisciplinary approach, which unfortunately we were neglecting. We were having too many good institutions, but most of them were unitary in nature. And therefore the policy decision, new approach is become multidisciplinary. And fortunately, many institutions are now trying to do. They also understand the value of cross-connecting the different domains, and therefore multidisciplinary is there. Similarly, starting some new initiations. The new initiations, for example, could be academic bank of credit or multiple entry, multiple exit. I think these are the new initiatives which will remove the barriers in personalization of education. Till now, personalization was very little. I go to an IIT or IIM, I'm given standard prescription. If I want to take it, otherwise I leave it, kind of a thing. But today I can go to IIT and IIM, I can still do something from NIT or maybe Marwadi or maybe from any other university in the country or the world. And that's the initiative ABC gives, or multiple entry, multiple exit also gives. And it's basically connecting other players with the academic institutions is what it is doing. For example, industries connect was very, very thin with the educational institutions, but today you have policy of professor of practice and whatnot. Every such policy is there, and therefore is supposed to do. So this, in this case, NEP has done it. Also, I heard last when Professor Ranjan was talking, that he was talking about autonomy. I'm a very, very strong advocate of that. I really use it to help, and I, of course, very passionate about it and help my fellow peer group in understanding that. And therefore, let's understand that autonomy is what also will be defined under the structure of policy. So there are policies which are broad level, which we have talked about, but within the policy, there will be regulations. Within the regulations, there can be some set of rules. And please understand that some of them will trickle down to the university level. For example, operational rules of pass-fail or grading schemes will not be given by NEP and has not been given by NEP. We will have to make it at our level. But if a degree has to be 3 years or 4 years, or degree has to teach compulsory courses on value education or maybe environmental education, that can be a regulation coming from bodies like UGC, AICT, things like that. So all in all, what you call policy will be a construct of various things called broad policy. Then there can be various things called regulations. Then there can be various advisories in addition to regulations. And then there can be various rules which are there. All in all, policy should define something to be followed by us. And if we don't follow, it should be able to take cognizance of that and correct us also. And therefore, this regulation word which we use in connection with autonomy has to be understood very well, clearly. And therefore, the regulation should be light. That means it gives enough free space, enough autonomy, but it should also be tight that when something is essential, compulsory, required, and to be followed and not done, then there should be a good punishment for that. And that's light but tight. And once again, this new policy is talking about that. And I would say that a policy of India or policy of one nation, one policy should also stretch to not only to the national level, but should go to international domain. And that is what we are aspiring today. It's a hot debate right now with whatever UGC gave us in terms of the guidelines for the internationalization of education. It's a hot debate. Every agency is discussing it. Every forum is discussing it. And I think while the document can be one nation, one policy, but it should also talk about internationalization. And in that, it's very, very important that we serve this society at large, the world at large, the humanity at large. We are able to cross-connect with them. Who knows when they need us and when we need them. International leadership is not easy without giving something to the needy countries and the societies. And therefore, our policy should keep something open. Now, here I am a little critical that sometimes we say we can only collaborate with top 100 or top 200 or top 500 of the world. That's very fine. India may be aspirational that we want to only collaborate with the top. But what happens if those top countries also say a similar condition that we will collaborate only with top 100 or top 200? Then where will we get the partners from? I think it is our duty as much as to gain from the leaders and get hand-holding and mentoring and do the same to the others who are below us. I think the policy should be open in this kind of respect rather than too prescriptive. So international domain is a bit difficult, but it is important that we keep it open. And also the policy should be very, very open to something which is not very easily definable. Research, for example, research cannot be defined in 4 walls of a document or something. Research can be exploring the unexplored. Finding out the unknown, hitting in the dark. Research can be failure and success. And therefore, the policy should leave a little bit of scope for doing such searching and researching continuously in a certain boundaries is fine, but with a lot of openness and a lot of autonomy. I think these are my initial comments when it comes to one nation, one policy. Some things are working very well. Something needs to be still repaired or rejuvenated or repaired in a certain sense. And I'm sure that process is on. Government has understood, the academicians have understood, and therefore it's constantly improving. But this overarching thing, that we belong to a country, we belong to a philosophy, we belong to a domain and a style, I think should be understood by all. And within that, whatever liberty can be given, should be given, can be taken, should be followed. And I would want that all our academic leaders, whenever they face challenge, I think events like this, exchanges like this, can help us more easily to interpret it and use it in our favor. These are my initial comments. Thank you, Ravi G. Thank you, all the speakers. I'll continue to remain in the session if there are any questions and answers later. Thank you. Ravi G.
Thank you, Dr. Sandeep Sancheti, sir, Vice Chancellor, Marwadi University. And it's always, we are getting a lot of takeaways from your session, and it's a really amazing session from your side. Now I request Professor Rakesh Ranjan, Vice Chancellor, Sushant University, and Chairman of the Research CEGR Research and Publication Department also, so to present his concluding remarks and vote of thanks. Over to you, sir. With this, we are concluding the session, sir. Sir, you are not audible.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Ravi Ji. I think it was always a pleasure to hear Professor Sancheti whenever he speaks. And we always take a lot of insight on the topic, and we take home a lot of homework to do it. So thank you, Professor Sancheti. And this session was wonderful. And all the participants, all the speakers has presented their view, which is so important. Professor Sancheti was mentioning one very pertinent point, that it is not only on national perspective, we have to think about one nation, one policy. We have to also move ahead, and we have to internationalize our policy, and we have to think beyond India as well. We have been a believer of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So as long as we mean it, we have to open our arms, and we have to accept everyone. Professor, I have a lot of admirations when you said that it is not only top 100, what about the other university who wish to come up? We have to open our arms for them, and we have to greet them in our fold, and we should help them, because ultimately the moment we say that it is not only one nation, one policy, it is the whole earth we have to protect environmentally, for sustainability point of view, and education is a major factor. If the whole world we think of educating, then this boundary of the best 100 universities or best QS ranking of certain universities only we can join hands together. We have to eliminate those barriers, and we should extend our hands to them, handhold them, as you rightly said, if we wanted to make this particular earth a beautiful planet to stay, prosper, and live together. I think that is wonderful point. And Professor Partha, the Vice Chancellor, D.Y. Patil, Agriculture and Technical University. Sir, we have been, I was hearing you, but we have got a lot of expectation, particularly from the agriculture universities per se. India is a feeding, place to whole of the world. When there is a crisis of the wheat in the world, it was the India, very recently, India was the supplier. We have seen that the era of when our earlier Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri Ji, when he has given a slogan, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, there we faced the problem of a scarcity of the wheat. And now we have come to a situation where we are sending wheat out and feeding the international populations. So thanks to this agriculture scientist, now in the given domain of the new education policy, where the research is given due importance, where the freedom to choose the subject is given, the freedom to make your own policy under a given framework, we look forward that agriculture university will take further lead and make India not only a financial capital of the world, but agro product capital also in the world map. I think Professor Parthapan, I think your responsibility lies here, and as the Vice Chancellor of Agriculture and Technical University, we have been hearing, and you have got a wonderful thought on the policy, which we are taking home to explore how we can embed in our particular system. Dr. Indramani was talking, and he has put forth, and I would also like to underline his observation when he has said that, look, we have a one nation, one policy, one framework, but still there is a different barometers when we are judging with a private universities and the government university, particularly in terms of funding. It is obviously the private universities are at a disadvantageous position without actually going into the merit. So somehow the CEGR has been taking a lead, and this kind of a discussion deliberation we have to keep doing it to sensitize the people who are sitting on the deciding chair, that look, decide on the merit, not on the basis of the private and the public partnership. It is one India, one nation, one quality, one policy, one framework. If we fit in, we fit in. Don't discriminate between the government. And so well taken, Professor. I think we have to keep stressing wherever we get this particular opportunity. And Professor Sancheti, since you have been in dictating position at many of the place, whenever we would request, and the whole panel would like to request to you, that the private universities and private educational systems should be judged on the merit. That should go into the mind of all such institutions who are accepting the projects and deciding about giving funds. We would like to contribute in the national development as far as the research is concerned. And you cannot deny, when there was technological booms and the software boom, it is largely the private institutions who were feeding the requirement of the software engineers. If you see the statistics, it is not the IIT who was graduates were going to the TCS and the SCL and all. It is the private institutions graduate. They have been doing wonderful, and they have been going to US and making India proud. So I think wonderfully you have put it, Dr. Indramani. Thank you very much for highlighting that. And thanks to Dr. P. Krishnadas, Chairman, Nehru Group of Institutions. I think, this is a wonderful, the panel which we had, where the educators and the promoters both spoke on this particular policy. And the point of the view of Dr. Krishnadas is also well taken. And he was kind to be present throughout the sessions and hearing what academicians also think about, and how, as a promoter, he can facilitate the ecosystems where we can implement those ideas. I think big thanks goes to Ravi G. He has been driving force always. Whenever there is a topic, he is a facilitator of providing platform, and I think he is doing wonderful job. And this session has been extremely useful for all of you. Thank you everyone, all the participants, for their point of view. Thank you, Ravi Ji, once again. Thank you, CEGR. I think this is all from my side. Thank you, and have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you, Professor Rakesh Ranjan sir, for the wonderful view and concluding in a better way. We are really thankful to Dr. Sandeep Sancheti sir and all the panelists. A large number of audience has joined this webinar from the various social media, and we have got the initial feedback that a large audience. So we will get the compiled report by today night. But initial feedback is we have got a large audience over the various social media from the Facebook, YouTube, and other stream. So thank you. And with the presence of such an eminent academician like Professor K. Parthapan, Vice Chancellor D.Y. Patil Agriculture and Technological University, Dr. Indramani sir, Vice Chancellor Vasantrao Nayak, Marathwada Krishi Vidyalaya. So thank you, sir. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, and thanks to all the participants joined from various social media and various sites. So thank you all.
My university name is Vidyapeeth. In Maharashtra, we call Vidyapeeth.
Yes,
And
Krishi
to
Vidyapeeth.
Vice Chancellor, we call Kulguru, not Kulpati.
So
we don't call Kulpati.
Thank you, sir, for correcting me. And thanks to all the participants joined from all the social media. And on 1st March, we are organizing the roundtable discussion of academic leaders of Karnataka. Especially, this is a regional event focused to the Karnataka. And now we are active in 20 plus active state council with presence of 10,000 aligned academicians with us, including 1,000 academic leaders, 100 plus vice chancellors, and 200 plus promoters are into the CEGR umbrella. And because of that, we are the only education think tank to organize Indian Education Festival on 18th April 2019. And that to be clashed with the second phase of Lok Sabha election, and we have organized 56 physical events at 56 locations in 14 states that benefited 12,500 persons. So this is the biggest network in the field of education. So thank you. And the strongest part of the CEGR is that we have a strong academician membership, and more than 10,000 academicians are associated. This is the biggest part, and this all credit goes to the blessings like Sandeep Sancheti sir, Rakesh Ranjan sir, and all the well-wishers of the CEGR. Thanks to everyone. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, and we look forward to your support in the coming time. Soon we will meet in the next event on 1st March 2023. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.